Okay, so guys, we're just about to set off. We're going to do a detailed video explaining all the things that should be checked. But what I wanted to do was five major issues that I think are critical for anyone who's doing a bareboat charter or any type of boat charter. Really important. It's going to save you money in the long run. It's going to save a lot of hassles and improve the safety of your week. So first and foremost, one big thing which is often very difficult to do is a hull check. Now, mindful of the fact that all boats are often held in a marina or on a town quay, if we just look beside us, just come back to me. You can see that it's very difficult to do a hull check along the port and starboard hull. So here's my suggestion for those who want to do a good hull check: is the moment that you leave the dock, the moment that you leave the marina, deploy the dinghy, put the dinghy in the water, and do a lap of the yacht. If you go around that yacht and you discover some chips, some marks, some damage to the gel coat, immediately ring the charter company, take some photographic evidence, and most companies will be pretty reasonable because, as I said earlier, it is very difficult to check the condition of the hull whilst you're in the marina. The second thing I want to make mention of is the outboard. Without a doubt, the single thing that causes the biggest problems for charter is outboards. There's a variety of outboards out there. The quality ranges from good to utterly piss poor. And what I say is this: I want you to check the outboard 3 times. Start that outboard, usually using the choke, and I want you to then check the rest of the boat and come back to the outboard, and one final check of the outboard before you leave. Whilst we're on the outboard, there's a few other things you need to check. You need some spare fuel. If it's an older style outboard, which is known as a 2-stroke, you're going to need some oil that's mixed in with the fuel, the unleaded fuel, when you refill. So ask the charter company, is it a 4-stroke, a modern outboard that does not need oil mixed in with the fuel, or is it a 2-stroke, older one? If it is a 2-stroke outboard, you're going to need some oil to mix in with the fuel. The third thing I want to make mention of is the sails. So on these modern cruising yachts, we have a mainsail and a genoa. For those who are not in the know, the cost of a new mainsail, we're looking at about €3,000. The cost of a new genoa, probably €3,500. If those sails tear during your week, it's likely you could be up for the cost of the whole sail. So what I'd always say is ensure that you haul out both the mainsail and the genoa whilst the boat is moored before you leave harbour, before you leave the marina, yeah? A full check of the sails. You're looking for nicks, damaging, fray, any stitching that's come undone. If you find that, you need to point that out to the charter company and take photographic evidence. The fourth thing I want to talk about is the depth sounder. So often people are told by the charter company the depth of the keel. On this yacht, it's 2.2 meters. The one thing that people forget to do is determine whether that depth is built into the depth sounder. You need to determine from the charter company, is the depth sounder reading off the hull, where you're seeing the correct depth of water under the boat, or does it read from the keel, where they've usually put an offset into the computer and it's telling you how much water you're going to find under the keel? So important things there: find out the depth of the keel, but also find out whether the depth sounder is reading off the keel or the hull. And the final thing, the fifth thing I want to talk about, is water and holding tanks. So a lot of people go out for the week, their first tank runs out, and they don't know how to change over the tanks. Modern cruising yachts are going to have somewhere between 2 or 3 fresh water tanks. You need to know where the valve is to change over from tank 1 to 2 or tank 3. Usually it's in the saloon, underneath the chair. Often you'll find it also in one of the heads. And just while we're on that as well, if your boat has holding tanks, and most of the med you're going to have holding tanks now, you need to understand the correct operation of the holding tanks. How to release the holding tank and let the sewage out when you're out at sea, and how to close up the holding tank when you're back in harbour. Make sure you understand how to do that before you leave. I've seen a lot of very intelligent, experienced skippers come into trouble by not knowing how to operate a different system, a different holding tank system. So ensure that both on the water, you know where the water changeover valve is, and also how to control and release the holding tanks for each head. Safe sailing. Well done.